Okay, welcome back. Today we're going to talk about prime numbers and composite numbers. So we're going to look at the difference between prime and composite numbers and how you can tell if a number is prime or if it is composite. So this is a new topic for 5th grade. So we're going to take a look at prime numbers first. Prime numbers have only two factors, 1 and the number itself. Okay? So prime numbers have only two factors, 1 and the number itself. And what this means is that you can only divide them by 1 and itself evenly. So if we take, for example, the number 37. Well, 37 you can only divide by 1 and by 37. So that's kind of a big example. Another example would be maybe the number 2. Well, what can you divide 2 by? You can only divide it by 2 and by 1. So you can only divide it by 1 and itself. Okay, now there are very few prime numbers. Most of the numbers that we know are composite. And composite numbers are the opposite of prime numbers. They have more than two factors. And these are the opposite of prime numbers. And again, most numbers that we know of are composite numbers. So let's take an example of a composite number, the number 10. Well, I know I can divide 10 by 1. I can divide it by itself. I can divide it by 10. But I can also divide it by 2 and by 5. So 10 is considered a composite number because it has more than two factors. It has 4. So one more example might be the number 15. I can divide 15 by 1. I can divide it by itself, but I can also divide it by 3 and by 5. So it has also 4 factors. It has more than 2, so it is a prime number. Okay? Now there are 2 exceptions. 1 and 0 are neither prime or composite. So if we think of numbers as belonging to a family, either the prime number family or the composite number family, well, 1 and 0 are little orphan numbers. They don't belong to either family. Poor little 1 and 0. So those are the only 2 exceptions. All other numbers will either fit into the category prime numbers or composite numbers. Now there is a little test that you can use to decide if most numbers are going to be prime or composite. So prime numbers will never end in an even number because all even numbers are divisible by 2. Prime numbers will never end in 5 or 0 because all numbers that end in 5 or 0 we know are divisible by 5. Also, prime numbers will not be divisible by 3. And an easy test for 3 is you can do the sum of the digits. And so we've got an example here of 27. And all you have to do is add the digits together. So 2 plus 7 is 9. Well, I know that 9 is divisible by 3, so 27 is divisible by 3. So it is not prime. It must be composite. Okay, so we're going to look at a 100 grid. And the directions down here say to highlight the prime numbers. So we're going to start and go through the first few here. 2 is prime, 3 is prime, 5, 7, 11, 13, 17, 19. So those are all of the prime numbers between 1 and 20. So all of the ones that we did not highlight are the composite numbers. Okay? Now there's one exception here. We're going to go ahead and circle this guy right here, the number 1. Remember, he is neither. Okay? He's his own little guy. He is neither prime or composite. Okay? So we'll keep going. Then we have 23, 29, 31, 37, 41, 43, 47. Okay, and you can already see there are a lot more numbers not highlighted, a lot more composite numbers than there are prime numbers. Okay, so we'll keep going. We have 53, 57, 61, 67, 71, 73, 79, 83, 89, and 97. Okay. Take a look at this hundreds grid and see if you can see any patterns. What do all of the prime numbers actually end in? What do they not end in? Very good. You see that a lot of the prime numbers end in 1. That's pretty common. A lot of the prime numbers end in 3. You can see that they don't end in 2 very often. Why? Because that's an even number. They don't end in 4, ever. Again, that's an even number. They don't end in 5. They don't end in 6. Some of the prime numbers, quite a few of them, end in 7. So if you see a number that ends in 7, you might look out for that one. None of the numbers that end in 8 are prime. A few of them that end in 9 are prime. And again, none of them that end in 0 are prime. So that's part of our prime number test. Okay. There are a couple that are pretty tricky that I want you to watch out for. So I'm going to put a little light bulb over here, my best drawing for a light bulb, and I'm going to say, watch out. Okay, these two are kind of tricky. 49 and 91, both of these numbers are composite. What do you think you can divide 49 and 91 by? What do you think? Right, you can divide them by 7. These two numbers are divisible by 7. So it doesn't happen very often. That's why we didn't put it as part of our prime number test, because there's only 2 that you have to really watch out for, 49 and 91. The rest of the numbers will generally, you'll be able to catch them using the prime number test. Another thing to look out for are your factors of 11. So you have 22, 33, 44, 55, 66, 77, 88, and 99. None of those numbers are prime. That's because they can all be divided by 11. So those are your prime and composite numbers. And we'll keep working with those in class. And thank you for watching.